This is the Sales Babble Podcast, episode 313. Great Sales is Matchmaking, an interview with the top 1% agent, Shawnna Donovan.
Welcome to Sales Babble, the podcast that shares selling secrets for non-sellers. And now your host, Pat Helmers.
Hello, Sales Babblers. This is Pat Helmers, and wow, are we living in topsy-turvy times. Which brings up the Thursday afternoon telebabble calls that we're now hosting. Last week we had a number of listeners join the conference bridge, and it was all very upbeat and optimistic. One participant said that his peers were in a panic, unsure what to do. Oh no. But it was reassuring for him to meet others with a positive outlook. Again, that's Thursday, 4 o'clock Central Time. You can do the math wherever you're at. Hop on the email list at salesbabble.com, and I'll send you a reminder Thursday morning with a one-click button to hop on the call. Join other sales babblers, give a little, get a little, and share tips on how to find sales success these days. Now, our guest today is Shawnna Donovan. She's a real estate agent for Coldwell Banker, and she was just named the top 1% of agents statewide. Her sales in 2019 landed her in the top 15 of all Coldwell Banker agents, and nationally, she's 325 out of 41,000, putting her in the top 3%. Shawnna sees herself as a matchmaker with a follow-up discipline. It's a joy to have her visit. But before we get to that, listen all the way to the end for this week's Sales Nexus sales tip. Greg Klein talks about CRM differentiation. And so, with no further ado, let's get to it. Welcome, Shawnna. Are you ready to babble?
I am ready to babble. Thank you, Pat, for having me on today.
You're a winner.
I am. I'm so, it's been a wonderful honor to be recognized by the leading global real estate company, being in their top 15 in the state of Illinois, for this little country girl just north of the Mason-Dixon line and 6 hours south of Chicago. It's a great honor. I am, number 15 in the state, top 1%, top 3%, nationwide and globally. So I'm just one of those surreal moments. I just have to keep pinching myself.
Yeah, I just read about this last weekend. My wife and I were down in Southern Illinois, and we went watch some basketball, and we did the winery trails, and we went to Scratch Brewery. We did a bunch of fun things. And I was reading this in the paper, and I thought, oh man, she sounds awesome. She sounds top 1%. I go, I got to get you on the podcast. So I can't help but ask, what separates you from the other 99% of the real estate agents out there?
I think what it is that, I care. And at the end of the day, this is my name. This is my reputation. But it's also, I care. I care about that single mother or that first-time home buyer or even that older couple that is downsizing into their last home. And I'm not saying that other realtors don't care, but I don't look at people like a paycheck. I look at people as an experience and a way to meet people, to learn about people, to help people. And at the end of the day, I am a matchmaker. I'm, instead of matchmaking somebody to be married, I'm matchmaking someone to their shelter. And that's one of the 5 basic needs. And so I'm honored to be a part of that. And that's one of the most exciting parts about my job is to witness, to bring everything together and to help out that person who has a need. I am really a salespeople. We are fulfilling a need and a want that is already existing. And so that is that's essentially my forte. And everybody is different. Everybody has completely different personalities. And what's funny is you don't really know somebody until you start working with them and getting involved in not only their shelter, but their family, their pets, and their money. And you just never know. I mean, from people I may have known for years, as in childhood, to people I had just met, and literally their dirty laundry is right there and, right in front of me, from the dirty underwear on the floor or socks or dirty dishes to the fact that they have credit issues. And, I become almost like the priest where they confess their financial sins to.
Wow. How long have you been a real estate agent?
In 17 years. Can you imagine 17 years? For that, I worked for the 2 state constitutional officers. And if it sounds like constitution, going to the bathroom, that's pretty much my experience. But no, 2 statewide officials, the lieutenant governor, the state treasurer of Illinois, and then former Governor Jeb Bush. And so my background was in PR, journalism, marketing, and people ask me, so what's the difference between this job and the previous career you had? And I said, it's just a matter of how long you're holding somebody's bag and holding somebody's Diet Coke. Because as working in politics, you work for a principal and you're constantly having to juggle their things, and all of their, dramas and issues and, policies and perceptions. But with real estate, I come in, I get dropped in as like a messenger, like, in a landing zone. I'm here for a short period of time. I love on people, take care of them, but I also pride myself on being their realtor for life. And so when anybody, who has bought or sold for me or haven't, they have a question. I'm now going on. I have several clients here locally that they have now either bought, sold, or both for their 4th house with me. So I have a handful of those people. So kind of exciting.
So you don't take a transactional view on these homes. You see this as a relationship that's going to last for a long time.
You know what? I've had to really transition myself because just with everything, life changes. It's becoming more transaction based. Especially with the younger buyers, they, change their mind like they change their socks. And so, they may work with one realtor looking at a home one way, and then looking at a realtor on another property a different way. And at the end of the day, it's just essentially who can connect with them, who provides the most value to them. And that person may not even end up being their realtor for life. That may just be the realtor for that transaction. And then eventually they find somebody else. So that's the key component, is just staying in touch with those buyers or those clients. And just, essentially follow up is so important in the sales industry.
Why? Why do you say follow up?
Follow up, keeping in front of your clients, keeping in front of people who may not have even used you as a realtor or as a salesperson. They become our customers. Just still providing that value and still providing that service of being that point person and being that, essentially expert in your field. And that is what is so important. And, your normal sales 101, follow up, follow up, follow up. And that is crucial. And Pat, I came from a non-selling position. I obviously worked for the state, and our state politics. And I mean, I had a guaranteed paycheck every 2 weeks. There was no bonus. There was no commission based. I mean, I had a nice job. And as fate would have it, you just, kind of catch that real estate bug like a cold that I've never gotten over. But it was really fate that led me to this career. And from then, I just been like, okay, so I'm like constantly on the job training. And to a person who is a non-salesperson, a non-entrepreneur, I am constantly learning and perfecting my crafts and learning how to work and how to sell, successfully, and essentially being ahead of the curve, always trying to be ahead of the curve of the market.
Now, how often, I get asked this all the time, people are concerned that they're going to be bothering people, and that following up too often is bad. In your mind, how much follow-up is the right amount of follow-up?
I think honestly, I think that's really a great question. I think it depends on the person. My touch point is always, initial contact, and, maybe touch point, twice a week, and if that person just kind of gives you kind of the cold shoulder, doesn't really respond, then you're bringing it down to once a week and then possibly even once a month. But if you've got kind of an inclination, you've qualified a person, or at least they're giving you almost all the right signals that they want to move forward. And then for some weird reason, they just don't, kind of stop dead in their tracks. You always kind of have to kind of slide in and just kind of, step gently into the baby pool of it, where you're just, hey, wanted to follow up, see how you're doing, if you have any questions. And if they just kind of get the pushback, you get the pushback. Our job as salespeople is to figure out what is the real objection and what is the real reason why they're not wanting to move forward or to take that jump. Selling is selling, and you just got to know when to apply the brake and apply the gas. Some people want to they want you to give gas and, check in on them and practically, kind of just stay on them like white on rice. And others just go, check in with me once a week or maybe twice a week. And then just, maybe once a week, maybe once a month. But you have to stay top of mind.
Now, how many properties did you sell last year?
I closed, and when I say closed, I closed 65 units.
Wow.
So that means 65 homes. And it was the gamut. Some of them were all the way up to over 300,000, which is in our market huge, all the way down to in the 60s, 60s, 70s, which is a little bit more, a little bit more normal in our market. In suburban Chicago, where you're at, like your median price point of a home is around 297,000 compared to our 89,000.
Yeah, it's pretty rural down there. It's completely. I don't know if a lot of people understand what Southern Illinois looks like. It's actually more like Appalachia. It's very rolling.
Right. Exactly. And we're 90 miles river to river between the Mississippi and the Ohio. Literally river to river, there's 125,000 people within that 90-mile, point A to point B, the South 20 counties. And that's the areas that I service. So it's really kind of crazy if you think about it. So some realtors in different markets, they get to sell for every one house they sell at that price point, at a price point, I have to sell two at my medium price point to be on the same.
So how do you do that? So how did you bump up your productivity versus all of your peers out there?
I just honestly, and it's ironic that you've asked me this, is because I just doubled down. I focused, and I was just kind of like, as my husband would say, you were a beast. And you were always in that afterburner mode of just, run. And he goes, just people, and there were a few deals where, I felt like I was changing diapers on a client for about 60 days there, that just kind of orbited around the universe, then came back to that same house that he looked at, 60 days prior. And some people took a little bit more hand holding, and that's fine. That's a service that I provide. And others just knew exactly. We were very focused. So how I did it, by the grace of God, and a lot of color from my hair, that.
So you're not getting divorced. You're not going into rehab. You're not doing any of those kinds of things from stress and anxiety.
No, but Christmas, I gave myself the best Christmas present, and I gave myself a 12-hour Netflix binge watching and a cooking show. So, because it was my day off, the only day that I've really had off.
Oh, that's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, and I let my husband go and enjoy the Christmas with his family, and I just said, please just let me have the one day off. But my first phone call on Christmas Day came at 7:30, wanting to look at property that day.
On Christmas?
And on Christmas, and I politely said, can we do it tomorrow? Would that be okay? So yeah, I was showing property on Thanksgiving, but there was some money, I would admit, that I still left on the table that perhaps I should have done better follow up on. with customers that weren't clients just yet, but they were just kind of, they weren't really sure at the time. And that's the thing is you almost have to, you know, to me, real estate is a lot like a racehorse, like a racing horses, and you're constantly having to watch the horses and see where they're at any given point, how far ahead, are they in that clients are in their decision making process of buying a house or selling their house, and competing with the other agents in this area. And that's a whole nother conversation. But I just love what I do. And I think the enthusiasm, and that's the big thing for salespeople, um, is that you have to be enthusiastic about the product that you're selling. And a lot of times in real estate, you have to be enthusiastic about yourself. I don't look like I just, walked out of a high school graduation. That, I have value and I have worth. Be confident, know your stuff, know your trade. And if you don't know, don't lie about it, because clients always know when you're faking it. Just politely say, I don't know, but I'll find out. And if you give me that opportunity, I will. And just follow up. Follow up and follow through.
Now, if you were to look back at your former self when you first started in real estate, what were you doing then that you would never do now? What have you learned over the last 17 years?
Oh my gosh, that's a novel in of itself. I've learned two things. One, when someone wants their house cleaned, it's not your job to help out and clean the house. It's not your job. It's not my job to help out with painting, cleaning, moving, packing, changing diapers, literally and figuratively, for people. And the other thing is too, is not to get attached to people. It's a business transaction. And at the end of the day, it's all about business. And if you just keep your mindset that it's about business, and, having a friendship after the transaction and closing day, that's great. That's wonderful. But unless you're wanting to get married to them, keep things in a professional realm. They don't want to hear about your drama. They don't want to hear about, that you didn't sleep or the dog threw up on the floor right before you walked out of the house. They don't want to hear it. Even though they may know you or they don't know you, they don't care. All they care about, all buyers care about and clients care about, is how does it affect them? When are they going to get, what they're wanting? And are you going to be the person to deliver it for them? So that's kind of, looking back 17 years ago, I wish I would have known, or maybe somebody did tell me I wasn't listening
Yeah.
enough, possibly. And that's why, even yesterday, having brunch with my husband, it's like, wow, this is a rare opportunity. And he goes, I can't believe you're taking an afternoon off. Well, 2 hours later, I was showing a property. So, but that's just kind of the nature of the animal. So boundaries are good. That's probably like the best other piece of advice I would give is just setting healthy boundaries, not only for you personally but also professionally. We live in a time and in an era now where people are not nice, and they will want to connect with you, and connect to your, if you have a house listed, you even have people out there in the social media world that will connect to you, look at a house, and then try to connect for not the right reasons to your client. And we've had a couple of instances on that. But also, too, just, you go meet somebody at a house trying to show them a house. And there's been numerous reports where realtors have been attacked because they are just showing property to someone whom they've never met and didn't really screen very well, and they ended up attacking that person. So,
When you and I were chatting Saturday, you said that there was something you wanted to give away to everybody in regards to
yeah,
how to pick a real estate agent. And that's something I really want to read, because I had a real estate agent out here a couple years ago, and she was looking at the house, and she totally didn't understand this property at all. She didn't, and I couldn't help but walk away. I'm going, no, this lady is not my person. But how am I going to find my right person? So if you've got some advice on this that you want to share with the audience, that would be really great.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's the biggest, even when I was a non-realtor years ago, and I hired an agent, and I interviewed that person, and wow, now working in the industry, it's like, wow, these are the things you need to know about me before you're even asking. Let me just tell you. And it's, how many, really the person, I think, as a person who has bought and sold property, and even before, like I said, I was a realtor, I wanted to ask, the biggest question was, how much time can you spend on my property? If you have a pool of buyers and you are a busy realtor and you've got a team of people, that's great. But if you're a hungry agent and that, you're really wanting to do all that you can for my property, then that's another. So it's just a matter of, some key and crucial questions of how much has research has that person done, like you just talked about, and really, what is the average sales price that agent sells? What is an average sales price? Do they have a lot of listings, for instance? How much time can you commit to selling my home? And what charges are you going to? What charges am I going to incur to help you do that? Are there any charges, upfront charges? Some agencies are even going to that now where they're charging the consumer marketing fees. And we've seen that nationwide. And there's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of programs out there like the for sale by owner programs and different variations of that. I'm here to tell you those will not work. People do need representation of some sort. I know up in the Chicagoland area, you see a lot of people having attorneys do their paperwork, and I think that's extremely appropriate because it is a business transaction. But as far as marketing your home, knowing the marketplace, good realtors are worth their weight in gold, and they're the ones that are going to navigate you through a very crowded and congested market that's out there. Not only do you have to reach your local buyers, but your broker, that person has to explain to you, that realtor has to explain to you how they're going to reach that global buyer. And what successful marketing have they done, and that's in place. What is their marketing plan? So there's about 10 questions I'm going to share with you that you can put up on your website. And, that's a downloadable file in which, your readers, or excuse me, your listeners can look at that and say, wow, that's a really great template. And so if I'm thinking about buying or selling a house, I can use this as a template and go from there.
Yeah, we were just driving the other day and we saw all these ads for Redfin. I heard an article yesterday or last week on the radio where there's a website that will give you a bid on your house and buy it within
Yep.
a week. And you actually agree on what the price is. Then they send somebody out the next day and they do a quick inspection. They go, yep, that'll do it.
Yep.
I'm like,
And that's
wow.
crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'm not surprised. Think about how much technology has changed, the taxi company,
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
the newspaper business, any number of technologies, disruptive technologies out there, and I wonder, is that going to happen for years?
Well, I think, we're I'm fortunate that we're in a market where the learning curve, is a little bit slower than our neighbors to the north. And it's ironic we're in the same state. Redfin and others like iBuyer through Zillow are very prominent where you're at. But to me, I mean, I get it, the instant gratification. You have DoorDash and people bring you McDonald's. You don't even have to leave your house. But at the same time, buying a home is so much different. The problem is with a lot of those services, they're going to come in, and whether the company buys it like Redfin or an investor, they're going to turn around and flip it. And still, I think that human touch is so key in buying and selling a home. And yeah, I think, the iBuyers and the Redfin and things of that nature, we've got countless studies to say that you pay for that service. The seller ends up losing money on a deal like that than if it were in a situation where you've got an actual realtor who knows that local market, that hyper local, as I call them, realtors who understand even those neighborhoods. And the consumer, the client actually loses money. There's more money to be made when you use a local realtor and real estate company.
All right. If people want to find you, Shawnna, how would they do that?
Various directions. Social media, I'm all over through Instagram, Southern Illinois Real Estate, or even on Facebook, Shawnna Donovan, your Southern Illinois Realtor. We'll have links for you. And what I do too, and what I offer is anybody has a question, and whether I'm, your listeners, whether they're in their pajamas and their Doc Martens somewhere in New York or someplace, I would make my information available. And if people want to send me a message, I get various general questions all the time. So I'm happy to help anything I can do, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Awesome. Well, again, Shawnna, I want to congratulate you on your on winning last year. That's quite an achievement. Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you very much, and appreciate your interest, and hopefully I didn't babble too much, but I appreciate the opportunity to talk about real estate from this. I didn't come out of the womb selling real estate. I came from a non-selling background, and I just love to share my pearls of wisdom.
Awesome. Have a great day. Thank you.
You too. Thank you.
Welcome back, Craig. Are you ready to babble a Nexus sales tip?
I'm ready to go.
I got another question. What differentiates Sales Nexus from all the other CRMs out there?
That is the $1 million question. What I like to say is that Sales Nexus is designed to work the way a salesperson works. When we started Sales Nexus back over 15 years ago, I had just been a sales manager for 10 years. And we needed a system that didn't get my salespeople lost in the software, just trying to do the basic stuff. So that's what we tried to build with Sales Nexus, is just put it all on one screen, let me do what I got to do without clicking around, and then move on to the next customer. Because once you do that, it's easy for the salespeople to keep customers organized. And once that's done, then you can start automating all of the lead nurturing and everything else, which Sales Nexus includes. You don't need to buy an extra add-on or whatever. So the shorter answer to that question is Sales Nexus is the CRM that your sales team's actually going to use.
I like it. Great tip, Craig. How can people find these sales tips online?
Just go to salesnexus.com/sales, and there you can download the Sales Babble sales tips in a PDF, and you can get your copy of our 4 Steps to Market Domination guide.
Sounds good. Sounds very good, Craig. I can't wait for next week's tip. Thank you.
See you next week.
To connect with Shawnna, you can find her in the show notes at www.salesbabble.com/313, and you can get her download on how to hire a terrific real estate agent. One of the best ways that people hear about Sales Babble is from listener reviews. If you could go to your favorite podcast app and leave a 5-star comment, hey, I would really appreciate it. Word of mouth is how podcasts spread. And if you haven't subscribed yourself, you can find us on all the podcast listening apps in the world. We're everywhere. Now, don't forget to hop on to the Telebabble teleconference this Thursday at 4 o'clock Central Time. If you hop on the email list, we'll have the telephone conference bridge there so that you can hop on. Also, check the show notes. You can find it there, too. That's all I've got for this week's folks. Until next week, take care and have a highly successful and profitable selling day.
Thank you for listening to the Sales Babble podcast. Find us at www.salesbabble.com.
This is a production of Habanero Media.